playfully flashing her tongue, just like she did after hitting an instantly iconic buzzer beater in Game 3 against the Mercury. She turns complative. I think I'm on my way there. I'm making it real hard for people to chase after me. That's what it means to be the GOAT.
That tongue flash, that confidence. A'ja Wilson just declared herself the GOAT on camera while accepting Time Magazine's 2024 Athlete of the Year award. And in doing so, she reignited the exact same controversy that nearly destroyed the WNBA's momentum last season, because buried in that same Time Magazine article celebrating Wilson's achievement was a paragraph that called Caitlin Clark fans toxic and racially divisive. Again, we're right back to square one.
Number one, in a world where Shohei Ohtani just had the greatest Major League Baseball season a player's ever had, a historic season, this is a joke. This is a joke.
Here's what makes this particularly absurd. Shohei Ohtani just completed the greatest individual season in Major League Baseball history. 50 home runs, 50 stolen bases, a feat literally never accomplished before in 50 years of professional baseball. He signed a $700 million contract, led his team to a championship, and became a global phenomenon transcending the sport itself. And Time Magazine gave their Athlete of the Year award to a WNBA player whose league still operates at a financial loss. This isn't about diminishing Wilson's accomplishments. She won her third MVP, her second Olympic gold medal, and dominated her sport in 2024. But when you place her achievement next to Ohtani's historic season, the choice becomes transparently ideological rather than merit-based.
Time. In 2024, Caitlin Clark's rookie season helped the WNBA hit a milestone TV and attendance figures. But Clark's emergence created a toxic, racially divisive narrative that she was almost singularly responsible for the salvaging a league whose foundation is built by mostly a black player base. She was singularly responsible. I mean, it's hilarious.
Listen to how Wilson frames this. The narrative that bothered her wasn't a hit at her personally. She's clear about that. Her resume speaks for itself. What bothered her was the idea that Caitlin Clark's arrival threatened to erase WNBA history, that the new fans flooding in to watch Clark somehow disrespected the players who built the foundation. But here's the fundamental problem with that framing. Nobody was erasing anything. Sports fans showing up to watch a generational talent isn't a referendum on past players. When LeBron James entered the NBA, his massive fan base didn't erase Michael Jordan's legacy. When Tiger Woods revolutionized golf, he didn't diminish Jack Nicklaus. New stars attract new audiences. That's how sports grow.
I'm going to win this MVP. I'll win a gold medal. Y'all can't shake my resume. It was more so, let's not lose the recipe. Let's not lose the history. It was erased for a minute. I don't like that, because we have tons of women that have been through the grimiest of grimy things to get the league to where it is today. So she has a problem with the new fans too. She's made that pretty clear in the past. And this is, I mean, this is hilarious.
And now we get to the most revealing part. Time Magazine's article claims that 2025 WNBA viewership was up 5 to 6% on a per-game average across ESPN networks, even with Clark missing most of the season due to injury. Wilson herself says this proves the league doesn't need Clark. Quote, "Sometimes you need proof in the pudding." The biggest thing for us, and why I was so happy, is that we continue to rise to the occasion. Except there's a massive problem with using those numbers as proof of anything. And the fact that neither Wilson nor Time Magazine mentioned this problem tells you everything about the agenda at play here.
Porters, well, it looks like we're right back to where we were at the beginning of 2024, at the beginning of that basketball season in the WNBA, as we were preparing for the arrival of the Caitlin Clark phenomenon, the Caitlin Clark effect, all the fans that flooded in wanting to consume Caitlin Clark, but yet were met by A'ja Wilson and the media and many others, players, other parts of the media besides Time Magazine, was met with...
Remember where we started in 2024. The WNBA was preparing for Caitlin Clark's arrival, and the response from players and media was immediate hostility. New fans were called toxic before they'd even watched a game. Sports fans who simply wanted to follow Clark's career were labeled racist for not having watched the WNBA in previous years. The message was clear: you're not welcome here unless you adopt our social messaging and political activism. Stephanie White, Clark's new head coach, made that explicit when she said she didn't want fans who weren't willing to embrace the league's social justice agenda. Not fans who were abusive or disrespectful. Just fans who wanted to watch basketball without political lectures. Those fans were toxic in her view. That's not how you build a sustainable fan base. That's how you alienate the casual sports fan who might have become a dedicated supporter.
I've already had some fans saying, you know what? I mean, the WNBA, I guess, is not aware. The Indiana Fever, I guess, are not aware. There are some fans that have personally said, I wanted to support Caitlin Clark. I was behind her. I was all in, and I am not doing it any longer. They've said, we'll keep up with her through your channel roads. We're not wasting our time anymore on this product.
And now, some of those fans are done. Not because they stopped liking Caitlin Clark. Not because they lost interest in women's basketball. But because they're tired of being called racist for the crime of showing up. Multiple fans have said they'll keep following Clark through highlight channels and independent coverage. But they're not investing time or money in a league that openly despises them. The WNBA needs to pay attention to this, because this isn't a small group of trolls on social media. These are people who bought League Pass subscriptions, who purchased jerseys, who traveled to games. They were ready to become the fan base the WNBA desperately needs. And the league's response was insult them.
Okay, well, I'm going to say the same thing I've said about LeBron. You're not the GOAT if you got to tell people you're the GOAT. I mean, you know, I'm going to point that out. And you may be the GOAT for the next 5 years, maybe. Yeah, I'm not talking about ongoing. I'm talking about once Clark builds her legacy, then there's going to be a different GOAT, but that's neither here nor there. Okay. Her rocket ship comes at an opportunity.
Back to Wilson's GOAT declaration. Look, confidence is great. Athletes should believe they're the best. But there's a reason Michael Jordan never had to tell people he was the GOAT. There's a reason Tom Brady didn't need to declare it. When you're truly the greatest, the work speaks for itself. Wilson is an incredible player. 3 MVPs, 2 Olympic golds, the 2024 Paris Olympics tournament MVP. Her resume is legitimate. But declaring yourself the GOAT while you're still in the middle of your career, while players like Diana Taurasi and Sue Bird have longer track records of sustained excellence, comes across as insecure rather than confident. And doing it in the same interview where you dismiss the impact of the player who actually drove the league's 2024 growth, that's not confidence. That's defensiveness.
Quote, sometimes you need a proof in the pudding, Wilson says. The biggest thing for us and why I was so happy is that we continue to rise to the occasion. This was just a matter of time for us to really bloom and blossom. It was like, quote, they're going to pay attention. Okay, well, let me clear the air there. The ratings were up because of the new system they put in place at Nielsen.
Here's what Time Magazine and the WNBA don't want to acknowledge. The ratings methodology changed in 2024. Nielsen implemented a new big panel data system that inflates viewership numbers compared to previous years. You literally cannot make accurate year-over-year comparisons using the old system versus the new system. ESPN took a victory lap claiming ratings were up in 2025 compared to 2024, but they conveniently ignored that the measurement system had fundamentally changed. It's like switching from a 12-inch ruler to a 14-inch ruler, and then celebrating that everything you measure is bigger. The actual evidence suggests that with Caitlin Clark absent for most of 2025, interest declined significantly, attendance dropped, social media engagement dropped, merchandise sales dropped. But Time magazine presents Wilson's claim that the league proved it doesn't need Clark as if it's established fact rather than wishful thinking contradicted by the actual data.
Welcome to the DEI Olympics, folks. You are witness. Caitlin Clark fans, toxic and racially motivated. The media, understand this, still hates you. They still hate you. Most of the players in this league, they still hate you. There's been no growth here. This storyline bothered Wilson, who in 2024 earned her third WNBA MVP, her second Olympic gold medal in Paris, where she was named the tournament MVP. Quote, "It wasn't a hit at me because I'm going to do me regardless."
Look at how Time magazine framed the Caitlin Clark phenomenon. They called it a toxic, racially divisive narrative that she was almost singly responsible for salvaging a league whose foundation is built by a mostly black player base. Read that sentence again. Time magazine just called it toxic and racially divisive to acknowledge that Caitlin Clark drove unprecedented viewership and attendance in 20. They're not disputing the facts. Clark's games drew millions of viewers. Her jerseys outsold everyone else's. Attendance at Fever games broke records. These are measurable, objective facts. But according to Time magazine, recognizing those facts is racist. Because Clark is white and most WNBA players are black, therefore crediting her with the league's growth is somehow an attack on black players. That's not anti-racism. That's racial grievance masquerading as social justice, and it poisons everything it touches.
The big panel data methodology that we've talked about, that how do you know the ratings were up? Because you can't compare it to the previous year. We've called ESPN out for taking a victory lap on that. The numbers are inflated versus previous years. I'm willing to bet you as I look through this, I mean, these tailwinds offer some leverage going into the CBA. I mean, you can go down through here. I promise you. No, of course they didn't bring up the new way of measuring the television rating, because that doesn't fit in Time magazine's agenda. Wow. Right back to square one.
So here we are, right back where we started at the beginning of 2024. Sports fans who wanted to support Caitlin Clark and invest in the WNBA are being told they're toxic and racist. A'ja Wilson wins an award that should have gone to Shohei Ohtani based on any objective measure of athletic achievement. Time magazine uses the award announcement to attack Clark's fanbase, and the league wonders why growth has stalled. The fundamental problem is that the WNBA and its media allies are more interested in ideological purity than in building a sustainable business. They'd rather have a small, politically aligned fanbase that affirms their worldview than a large, diverse fanbase that just wants to watch great basketball. That's their choice to make. But they need to stop pretending they want growth when their actions consistently drive away the exact fans who could provide it. You cannot simultaneously court casual sports fans and call them racist for showing up. You cannot demand that people watch your product and then lecture them about their privilege when they do. You cannot build a fan base by telling potential fans they're not welcome. The WNBA had a golden opportunity in 2024. Caitlin Clark brought millions of new eyes to the league. People who'd never watched women's basketball were suddenly invested. Families were buying tickets. Young girls had a new hero. The momentum was real and unprecedented, and the league's response was to tell those fans they needed to learn the history, embrace the activism, and stop making it all about one white player. As if fans owe the league anything beyond their time and money. As if showing up to watch isn't enough. As if you need to pass an ideological purity test before you're allowed to enjoy women's basketball. That's not how you build anything sustainable. That's how you ensure that the moment your transcendent star retires, all those fans disappear because you spent years telling them they weren't really welcome anyway. A'ja Wilson is a great player. She deserves recognition for her accomplishments. But this Time Magazine award isn't about recognizing excellence. It's about sending a message. And that message is clear. The WNBA would rather be ideologically correct than commercially successful. They'd rather fight culture wars than build a fan base. They'd rather attack Caitlin Clark's supporters than embrace the growth she brought. So what happens now? Clark will come back for the 2026 season, assuming she doesn't decide the international leagues offer a better environment. Some of her fans will return, many won't. They've learned that their support isn't valued, that they'll be called racist no matter what they do, that the league sees them as a problem rather than an opportunity. And when the ratings don't match 2024's numbers, when the attendance declines, when the merchandise sales drop, the WNBA will blame everything except their own hostility toward the fans who wanted to support them. They'll blame racism, sexism, lack of media coverage, anything but their own decision to alienate the people who were ready to invest. The saddest part, this was all preventable. All the WNBA had to do was welcome new fans without conditions. Thank them for showing up. Give them great basketball, and let them decide how deeply they wanted to engage. Build on the momentum instead of fighting it. Instead, they chose purity over growth, ideology over opportunity, and they'll pay the price for that choice for years to come. So here's the question for you. If you're a Caitlin Clark fan who got excited about the WNBA in 2024, are you still invested after everything that's happened? After being called toxic and racist? After watching the league celebrate an award that attacks you in the same article that announces it? Are you coming back, or are you done? Drop your answer in the comments, because the WNBA needs to hear it, even if they're not willing to listen.